Nobody expected a kid from Springfield, Ohio, to go viral. Springfield was a quiet place, full of hard-working people and small dreams. It wasn't the kind of town where kids grew up thinking they'd meet superstars, let alone challenge them. But 14-year-old Marcus Carter wasn't just any kid. Marcus was the type of boy you'd see dribbling a basketball no matter where he went. To school, to the store, even to the small park at the end of his street. If he wasn't dribbling, he was practicing. Long after the street lights came on, you could hear the rhythmic bounce of a basketball echoing through his neighborhood. His neighbors teased him about it. "You really think you're gonna be the next LeBron, huh?" An older man chuckled one evening as Marcus practiced in the driveway. "No," Marcus replied, steady and serious. "I'm gonna beat him." The man laughed as he walked away, but Marcus didn't crack a smile. He wasn't joking. For Marcus, basketball wasn't just a game. It was everything. Growing up in a small house with peeling paint and a cracked driveway, Marcus didn't have much. His mom worked 2 jobs to keep food on the table, and his dad hadn't been around for years. Life wasn't easy, but on the court, none of that mattered. Basketball gave him freedom. But Marcus wasn't just playing for fun. He had a dream he didn't share with anyone except the pages of his old notebook, the one where he scribbled goals and sketched his favorite basketball plays. At the very top of the first page, in bold letters, he had written, "Play against LeBron James." For most people, that dream would have been laughable. LeBron James was a global icon, a 4-time NBA champion, and a living legend. He was 6'9", unstoppable on the court, and celebrated worldwide. Meanwhile, Marcus was 5'6", still waiting for his growth spurt, and played in worn-out sneakers held together with duct tape. "Kid, you're too small," his gym teacher said one day after seeing him miss a layup during PE. "Why don't you try something else? Maybe track and field?" Marcus just nodded politely. He wasn't about to argue, but deep down, he was determined to prove everyone wrong. Every day after school, Marcus would head to the local park. The basketball hoop was old and rusty, the net torn in places, but Marcus didn't care. To him, it was the same as an NBA arena. He practiced relentlessly, shooting free throws, running drills, and working on his footwork. He studied videos of LeBron on his mom's old phone, mimicking his moves until he got them right. He didn't just practice. He dreamed. Marcus imagined what it would feel like to stand on the court with LeBron, to look up and see the man he'd admired for years standing across from him. He imagined the roar of the crowd, the bright lights, and the moment the ball would be in his hands with LeBron guarding him. That vision played in his mind every night before he fell asleep. But dreaming wasn't enough. Marcus knew that. "Dreams without hard work are just wishes," his mom often said. She didn't always understand Marcus's obsession with basketball, but she admired his dedication. So Marcus worked. He woke up before the sun to run laps around his block. He stayed after school to lift weights in the gym, even when his classmates teased him about being too short to make it. He saved every penny he could to buy a better basketball, sometimes skipping lunch to add a few dollars to his jar. "Why do you care so much?" his best friend, Jaden, asked one afternoon as they sat on the curb outside the park. Marcus stared at the cracked asphalt for a moment before answering. "Because I want to prove that it doesn't matter where you come from or what people say. If you believe in yourself, you can do anything." Jaden shrugged. "Okay, but LeBron James? That's crazy." Marcus just smiled. "You'll see." Months turned into years, and Marcus's obsession with basketball only grew. By the time he turned 14, he was known around the neighborhood as the basketball kid. People admired his determination but didn't think much of his chances. "You can't just wish your way onto LeBron's court," his older cousin teased during a family barbecue. "You've got to be in the NBA for that." "I'll find a way," Marcus replied confidently. And he meant it. What Marcus lacked in resources, he made up for in creativity. One evening, while scrolling through social media on his mom's phone, an idea struck him. If he couldn't make it to the NBA right now, maybe he could get LeBron to notice him another way. Marcus grabbed his basketball and headed to the park, setting up his mom's old phone on a shaky tripod. He recorded himself performing some of LeBron's most iconic moves: fadeaway jumpers, powerful dunks, and no-look passes. He practiced each move for hours until he got it just right. When the video was ready, Marcus uploaded it to social media with a simple caption: "LeBron, I'll see you on the court someday." At first, nothing happened. The post got a few likes from friends and family, but Marcus didn't let that discourage him. He kept practicing, kept recording, and kept uploading. Each video got a little better, a little sharper. Then, one morning, Marcus woke up to a notification that would change everything. His video had gone viral. Thousands of people were sharing it, commenting on his skills, and tagging LeBron James. Marcus's small town couldn't believe it. People started recognizing him at the park. Reporters came by to interview him. "You really think you can play against LeBron?" one of them asked skeptically. Marcus smiled. "I don't think I can. I know I can." But what Marcus didn't know was that someone very important had seen his video. Someone who was about to make his wildest dream come true. Marcus didn't understand the power of the internet until that morning when his phone wouldn't stop buzzing. His video, the one he shot late at night under the dim park lights, was spreading faster than he could have imagined. At first, it was just a few comments. "This kid's got skills," someone had written. Another person added, "Reminds me of a young Kyrie Irving." Marcus couldn't believe what he was reading. For the first time, people outside of Springfield were noticing him. "Mom! Look at this!" Marcus called out, rushing into the kitchen where his mom was washing dishes. She glanced at the phone, squinting at the screen. "What am I looking at, baby?" Marcus's heart raced as he explained. "My video. Look at the numbers, it's blowing up." His mom gave him a small smile. "That's nice, honey. But don't forget, you've got homework to finish." Marcus groaned but didn't let her indifference dampen his mood. She didn't get it. This was the start of something big. He could feel it. By the end of the day, Marcus's video had reached over 10,000 views. For someone who had barely 200 followers the day before, this felt monumental. Strangers from across the country were leaving comments, cheering him on, and tagging LeBron James himself. "You're going viral, bro," Jaden shouted when they met up at the park that evening. "Do you know what this means?" Marcus grinned. "It means I'm one step closer to the dream." But not everyone was supportive. As Marcus's videos gained more attention, the local kids who had teased him before began to resent him even more. "What makes you so special?" one boy sneered as Marcus set up his phone for another recording. "You think LeBron's actually going to notice you? You're wasting your time." Marcus didn't respond. He just dribbled his basketball and focused on his next move. The truth was, the boy's words stung, but Marcus had learned long ago that not everyone would believe in his dreams. Later that night, after finishing another round of homework, Marcus lay in bed staring at his notebook. The words "play against LeBron James" seemed to glow on the page. For the first time, they felt less like a fantasy and more like a real possibility. He flipped to a blank page and wrote a new goal: get LeBron to respond. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Marcus kept posting videos, each one better than the last. He experimented with creative shots, like bouncing the ball off the backboard before dunking or sinking three-pointers from impossible angles. He even recruited Jaden to help film slow-motion clips. But as his following grew, so did the pressure. Do you really think this is going to work? Jaden asked one day as they reviewed footage. I mean, it's cool and all, but what if he never sees it? Marcus paused, the weight of the question sinking in. He didn't have an answer. He had no guarantees that LeBron would ever notice him, let alone respond. But what was the alternative? Giving up? That wasn't an option. Even if he doesn't, Marcus finally said, I'll know I gave it my all. And that's enough for me. Jaden nodded, though Marcus could tell his friend wasn't convinced. Still, Marcus refused to let doubt take root. One evening, as Marcus was scrolling through the comments on his latest video, a message caught his eye. It was from a verified account, a name he recognized instantly. LeBron James. Marcus froze, his heart pounding so hard he thought it might burst. He clicked on the comment, reading it over and over to make sure he wasn't imagining things. Keep grinding, young king. I see you. Those 8 words sent Marcus into a frenzy. He bolted out of his room, yelling loud enough to wake the neighbors. Mom! Mom! He saw it. LeBron saw my video. His mom, startled, rushed out of her bedroom. What are you yelling about? Who saw what? LeBron James. Marcus said, waving his phone like a trophy. He left a comment on my video. He called me young king. His mom frowned, trying to process what he was saying. That's nice, baby, but calm down. It's just a comment. Just a comment. Marcus repeated, incredulous. Mom, this is huge. This means he knows who I am. But his mom wasn't as easily impressed. That's great, Marcus. Now go to bed, you've got school in the morning. Marcus sighed, retreating to his room. He knew his mom meant well, but she didn't understand. To him, this was more than just a comment. It was proof that his dream wasn't as impossible as everyone said. Over the next few days, Marcus's videos gained even more attention. Local news stations reached out for interviews, and a small sports blog even wrote an article about him, calling him the kid with a dream too big to ignore. Marcus's classmates, who had once mocked him, now looked at him differently. Some even asked for tips on their jump shots. But not everyone was happy for him. He's just lucky, one boy said loudly during gym class. It's not like he's actually good enough to play against LeBron. Marcus heard the comment but didn't react. Instead, he let his actions speak for themselves. When it was his turn to shoot, he sank every shot without missing once. Luck doesn't work like that, Marcus muttered as he walked off the court, leaving the boy speechless. But despite the attention, Marcus knew he still had a long way to go. A single comment from LeBron wasn't enough. He needed more. He needed a chance to prove himself, not just to his critics but to LeBron himself. So, Marcus went back to the drawing board, or rather, the basketball court. He started practicing harder than ever, waking up at 4 a.m. to run drills before school and staying late at the park to perfect his moves. He even started studying game footage of LeBron's greatest moments, analyzing every detail. If I ever get the chance to play him, Marcus told Jaden one evening, I want to be ready. No excuses. Jaden shook his head, laughing. Man, you're obsessed. Maybe, Marcus admitted, wiping sweat from his brow. But obsession is what makes dreams come true. And Marcus wasn't just dreaming anymore. He was preparing for the moment he knew would come. At school, Marcus Carter was just that short kid who always carried a basketball. He was easy to spot in the crowded hallways, dribbling a ball as he walked to class, earning scowls from teachers and stifled laughs from classmates. Hey, Marcus, careful. You might trip on your dreams, a boy named Tyler called out one day, his voice dripping with sarcasm. The others around him burst into laughter, but Marcus didn't flinch. He just tucked his basketball under his arm and kept walking. It wasn't the first time someone had made fun of him, and it wouldn't be the last. The truth was, Marcus had always been shorter than most of the boys his age. At 5'6", he was often overlooked on the basketball court. His height, combined with his quiet demeanor, made him an easy target. "Yo, Marcus, the hoop's over here," another boy shouted during gym class, pretending to look around for him. Marcus ignored the taunts, letting the basketball in his hands do the talking. When it was his turn to play, he'd weave through the defenders, his speed and precision leaving them scrambling. He might not have been tall, but he was quick, and he knew how to think a step ahead. Still, the teasing got to him sometimes. He'd sit in the back of the classroom, clutching his notebook, where he wrote down his goals. On the outside, he stayed calm, but inside, the doubts whispered louder than he liked to admit. "You'll never make it to the NBA. You're too small. You're wasting your time." Even his coach, who supported him more than most, tried to steer Marcus toward what he called realistic goals. "Marcus, I love your passion," Coach Bradley said after practice one evening. "But you've got to focus on your studies. Basketball's a tough business, especially for someone your size." Marcus nodded respectfully, but inside, his resolve only grew stronger. "Thanks, Coach," he said quietly, gripping the basketball a little tighter. The truth was, Marcus knew the odds were stacked against him. But the more people doubted him, the harder he worked. He spent hours practicing in the park, even when it was cold enough to see his breath in the air. His hands would go numb from the chill, but he didn't stop. His sneakers were so worn out that the soles were paper thin, yet he pushed through. "Why don't you just quit?" a boy asked one day, watching Marcus practice alone after school. Marcus glanced at him briefly, his expression unreadable. "Because I don't quit," he replied simply before turning back to the hoop. One evening, Marcus had an idea. He was watching one of his favorite videos of LeBron James performing a gravity-defying dunk during a championship game. The power, the grace, it gave Marcus goosebumps every time. "I could do that," Marcus thought, the idea lighting a spark in his mind. He grabbed his basketball and headed to the park. The sun had already set, and the street lights cast long shadows over the cracked pavement. But Marcus didn't care. This was his stage. Balancing his mom's old phone on a makeshift tripod, Marcus hit record. He spent the next 2 hours recreating LeBron's iconic dunk. Again and again, he leaped toward the hoop, pushing himself higher each time. At first, he missed, his fingers barely grazed the rim. But Marcus wasn't one to give up easily. He adjusted his approach, studied his footwork, and kept trying. Finally, on his 15th attempt, he nailed it. The ball soared through the hoop with a satisfying swish. Breathless and grinning, Marcus grabbed his phone and watched the footage. It wasn't perfect, but it was good. Good enough to share. He uploaded the clip to social media with a simple caption, "LeBron, I'll see you on the court someday." He didn't expect much to come of it. He figured a few friends might like the post, maybe leave some encouraging comments. But within hours, the video started gaining traction. At first, it was just a handful of likes and shares. Then, the numbers began to climb. Dozens of people were commenting, tagging their friends, and saying things like, "This kid's got heart," and "Can you imagine if LeBron actually saw this?" Marcus couldn't believe it. "Yo, Marcus. You're blowing up," Jaden said the next morning, showing him the video on his phone. By the end of the day, the clip had thousands of views. People from all over were leaving comments, cheering Marcus on and sharing his post. "You're gonna be famous, bro," Jaden said, grinning ear to ear. Marcus laughed, but deep down, he felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this was his chance to prove everyone wrong. But not everyone was impressed. At school, Some of his classmates rolled their eyes when they saw the video. "Marcus thinks he's the next LeBron," Tyler said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Let's see him dunk when he's up against real competition." The other kids laughed, but Marcus didn't let it show that their words stung. He had bigger things to worry about. That evening, as Marcus scrolled through the comments on his video, a notification popped up that made his heart stop. Someone had shared his video with the caption, "King James, check this kid out." Marcus stared at the screen, his breath caught in his throat. Was it possible? Could LeBron James really see this? The idea thrilled and terrified him at the same time. But as Marcus's video gained more attention, the pressure grew. "I saw your little stunt," Coach Bradley said after practice one day. "It's great that you're passionate, but remember, basketball isn't everything. Don't get distracted from your studies." Marcus nodded, but he could feel the frustration bubbling inside him. Why did everyone assume he couldn't do both? Even his mom, who supported him more than anyone, was hesitant. "Marcus, baby, I'm proud of you," she said one evening as they sat at the dinner table. "But don't forget, dreams are great, but you need a backup plan." "I don't need a backup plan, Mom," Marcus replied quietly. "I just need a chance." Her face softened, but she didn't argue. She knew how much basketball meant to him, even if she didn't fully understand it. One night, as Marcus lay in bed, he couldn't shake the feeling that something big was about to happen. His phone buzzed on the nightstand, and when he picked it up, his heart skipped a beat. It was a comment on his video. But not just any comment. It was from a verified account. LeBron James had seen his video. Marcus stared at the screen, his eyes glued to the notification. It wasn't just any comment, it was from LeBron James himself. "Keep grinding, young king. I see you." His breath hitched as the words sunk in. He reread them a dozen times, making sure it wasn't some cruel prank. No, it was real. LeBron James had actually acknowledged him. He leaped out of bed, his phone clutched tightly in his hand. "Mom! Mom!" Marcus yelled, running into the kitchen. His mom, who had been washing dishes, turned around, startled. "What on earth, Marcus? It's late. You don't understand." Marcus shouted, waving his phone in the air. "LeBron James, he saw my video. He left a comment. Look." She took the phone, squinting at the screen. Her eyebrows lifted as she read the message, but she kept her composure. "That's nice, baby," she said, handing the phone back. "But don't let it go to your head. It's just a comment." Marcus stared at her, dumbfounded. How could she not see how big this was? This wasn't just a comment, it was validation, proof that his dream wasn't impossible. "But Mom, it's LeBron James." "I know who he is," she replied, wiping her hands on a towel. "And I'm proud of you, Marcus. I really am. But don't forget, you've got school in the morning." Marcus sighed, but her words didn't dampen his excitement. He ran back to his room, his mind racing with possibilities. If LeBron had seen his video, what was next? Could this be the break he'd been waiting for? The next morning, Marcus couldn't focus in class. His mind kept drifting back to the comment. Jaden nudged him during lunch. "Bro, you're famous now. Everyone's talking about your video. Did you see the shares? Like 1,000 people reposted it." Marcus grinned. "I know, man. It's crazy." But with the attention came new challenges. Not everyone was happy for him. "Must be nice getting all that clout for one lucky dunk," Tyler sneered as he passed Marcus in the hallway. Marcus clenched his jaw but didn't respond. He wasn't going to let anyone ruin this for him. "Don't listen to him," Jaden said, patting Marcus on the back. "Haters gonna hate." Marcus nodded, but the word stung. It seemed like no matter what he did, there would always be people trying to tear him down. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. Marcus's video continued to gain traction, and local news stations even reached out for interviews. Reporters came to the park where Marcus practiced, filming him as he dribbled and shot hoops. "How does it feel to have LeBron James notice you?" one reporter asked, holding a microphone to his face. "It's unreal," Marcus said, his voice steady despite the nerves bubbling in his chest. "But this is just the beginning. I've got a lot more to prove." The attention was exhilarating, but it also brought new pressures. Marcus's schedule became busier than ever, juggling school, basketball, and interviews. "You're spreading yourself too thin," Coach Bradley warned one day after practice. "You need to stay focused on your priorities." "I am focused, Coach," Marcus replied, wiping sweat from his brow. But was he? Late one night, as Marcus scrolled through his social media feed, he came across a post from one of his classmates. It was a poorly edited meme mocking his height, paired with the caption, "Can't wait to see this guy get dunked on by LeBron." Marcus felt a pang of anger and embarrassment. He wanted to ignore it, but the comments under the post made it worse. "Dude's living in a fantasy. Short King Marcus, LOL. Bet he cries when LeBron destroys him." He threw his phone onto the bed, his chest tightening. Was this how people really saw him? For the first time in weeks, doubt crept in. What if they were right? What if he wasn't good enough? But then he remembered LeBron's comment, "Keep grinding, young king. I see you." The words echoed in his mind, chasing away the negativity. Marcus grabbed his basketball and headed to the park. It didn't matter what people said. He wasn't doing this for them. He was doing it for himself. As Marcus's following grew, so did his determination. He started waking up at 5 a.m. to practice before school, running drills under the pale glow of the streetlights. His jump shot became more precise, his dribbling faster, his footwork sharper. But with progress came sacrifice. His grades began to slip, and his teachers took notice. "Marcus, I need to talk to you," his math teacher, Mrs. Sanders, said one afternoon. He stayed behind after class, his stomach sinking. "You've been missing assignments," she said, her tone firm but concerned. "What's going on?" "I've just been busy," Marcus admitted, staring at the floor. "Marcus, I know basketball is important to you," she said, softening her tone. "But you can't neglect your education. You're a bright kid with so much potential. Don't throw that away." Marcus nodded, guilt gnawing at him. "I'll do better," he promised. But doing better meant working twice as hard. His evenings were now split between practicing and catching up on homework, leaving him exhausted by the time he crawled into bed. One day, Marcus received a direct message on Instagram from someone claiming to be an event coordinator for a major basketball tournament. "Hey Marcus, love your videos. We're hosting a showcase next month, and we'd love for you to participate. It's a great opportunity to get noticed by scouts. Let us know if you're interested." Marcus's heart raced. This could be his chance to prove himself on a bigger stage. But the event was in Cleveland, 2 hours away, and he wasn't sure how he'd get there. "Mom, can we talk?" he said that evening, sitting down at the kitchen table. "What's up, baby?" she asked, folding a dish towel. He explained the invitation, his excitement spilling out in a rush of words. But his mom's expression grew hesitant. "Marcus, that sounds amazing, but you know we can't afford trips like that," she said gently. "I'll find a way," Marcus said quickly. "I'll save up. I'll ask Coach." "Please, Mom, this is important." She sighed, her eyes softening. "All right, Marcus. If you can figure it out, I'll support you. But you have to promise me one thing. Anything, Marcus said eagerly. Don't lose yourself in all of this. Remember where you come from and why you started. Marcus nodded, her words sinking deep. The next few weeks were a blur of preparation. Marcus worked odd jobs around the neighborhood, mowing lawns and running errands to save money for the trip. Coach Bradley pitched in as well, helping him with transportation and finding local sponsors to cover the registration fee. By the time the tournament rolled around, Marcus felt ready. But the road to Cleveland wasn't smooth. On the morning of the event, their car broke down halfway there, leaving Marcus and Coach stranded on the side of the highway. Stay calm, Marcus, Coach said, pulling out his phone. We'll figure this out. Would Marcus make it to the tournament in time? The answer would shape the next chapter of his journey. Days turned into weeks, and Marcus's video continued to gain traction. What started as a neighborhood clip had become a viral sensation, shared and reshared by basketball fans, local celebrities, and even a few small sports blogs. Marcus couldn't believe it. Man, your video's everywhere. Jaden exclaimed during lunch one day, holding up his phone. Marcus laughed, a mix of excitement and disbelief. It's crazy, right? I didn't think it would go this far. But fame, even in its early stages, brought its own set of challenges. One afternoon, there was a knock at the door. Marcus opened it to find a young reporter from the Springfield Gazette standing on his porch, a camera crew behind her. Hi, Marcus. I'm Rachel with the Gazette. We've been following your story, and we'd love to do a piece on you. Do you have a moment? Marcus blinked, caught off guard. Yeah, sure. Let me get my mom. Within minutes, they were sitting in the living room, the reporter asking questions while the cameraman adjusted the angle of the light. What inspired you to post that video? Rachel asked, her tone warm but professional. Marcus thought for a moment before answering. I just wanted to show people that even if you're not the tallest or the strongest, you can still work hard and chase your dreams. LeBron's been my idol since I was a kid, so I figured, why not put it out there? The interview went on for nearly an hour, touching on everything from Marcus's practice routine to his thoughts on going viral. By the time the crew packed up and left, Marcus felt both exhilarated and exhausted. His mom placed a hand on his shoulder. You did great, baby, she said, her smile full of pride. Thanks, Mom, Marcus replied, though his mind was already racing ahead. This was just the beginning. Marcus wasn't content to sit back and bask in the attention. If anything, the spotlight made him work harder. He woke up earlier than ever, heading to the gym before school to work on his jump shot. After classes, he hit the outdoor courts, rain or shine, running drills until his arms and legs ached. You're gonna burn yourself out, man, Jaden said one evening, watching Marcus practice under the dim glow of a streetlight. I can rest later, Marcus replied, wiping sweat from his brow. Right now, I've got work to do. His determination was infectious. Other kids from the neighborhood started showing up to watch him practice, some even asking for tips. How do you shoot like that? A younger boy asked one day, holding a worn-out basketball. Marcus smiled and knelt down, showing the boy how to position his hands. It's all about practice, he said. Keep working on it, and you'll get there. Despite the support, not everyone was cheering for Marcus. Looks like Mr. Viral thinks he's too good for the rest of us, Tyler sneered during gym class one day. Marcus ignored him, focusing on his drills. But Tyler wasn't done. Bet you won't be so cocky when LeBron dunks on you, he added, laughing. Marcus felt a flicker of doubt, but he pushed it aside. He couldn't let negativity distract him. Still, the pressure was mounting. His teachers were concerned about his slipping grades, his classmates alternated between admiration and jealousy, and even Coach Bradley seemed more critical than usual. "You've got talent, Marcus," Coach said after practice one evening. "But talent isn't enough. If you're not careful, this fame thing could mess with your head." Marcus nodded, though he didn't fully agree. Fame wasn't the problem, time was. He felt like there weren't enough hours in the day to balance everything. Then, one evening, as Marcus finished his homework, his phone buzzed with a notification. He picked it up casually, expecting another comment or share. But when he saw the sender, his heart nearly stopped. It was a message from a verified account, LeBron James. Marcus's hands trembled as he opened it. The message was short and to the point. "Hey Marcus, it's Bron. Let's play." For a moment, he couldn't breathe. Was this real? He reread the message over and over, his mind struggling to process it. "Mom," he shouted, bolting out of his room. His mom looked up from the kitchen table, startled. "What's wrong?" "LeBron James just messaged me," Marcus said, holding up his phone. Her eyes widened as she took the phone from him. "Oh my goodness. Is this real?" "It's real," Marcus said, barely able to contain his excitement. She handed the phone back, a proud but cautious smile on her face. "Well, you better start getting ready, then." The next few days were a blur. Marcus replied to LeBron's message, thanking him and asking for details. It turned out LeBron was hosting a charity event in Cleveland and wanted Marcus to be part of a special exhibition game. When the news broke, it sent shockwaves through the community. "Marcus Carter to play with LeBron James," read the headline on the Gazette's website. At school, Marcus was suddenly the center of attention. "Yo, Marcus, can I get your autograph?" a boy joked in the hallway. Even Tyler seemed impressed, though he tried not to show it. "Don't mess it up," he muttered as he passed Marcus in gym class. Marcus smiled to himself. He wasn't going to mess this up. The night before the big game, Marcus lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. He felt a mixture of excitement and nerves. "What if I choke?" he thought. "What if I'm not good enough?" But then he remembered all the hours he'd spent practicing, all the times he'd pushed through doubt and exhaustion. "You've earned this," he told himself. "Just go out there and play your game." He closed his eyes, imagining the sound of the crowd, the feel of the ball in his hands, the thrill of sinking a perfect shot. Tomorrow, he would step onto the court with his idol. Tomorrow, he would show the world what he was capable of. And tomorrow, everything would change. The night before the game felt endless. Marcus tossed and turned in bed, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts. Every time he closed his eyes, he imagined himself on the court, under the bright lights, with LeBron watching him. He envisioned the cheers, the pressure, and the need to prove himself. But there was also doubt. What if I mess up? What if I can't handle it? He tried to shake the negativity away, reminding himself of everything he'd been through to get here. This wasn't just about proving something to the world, it was about proving something to himself. Morning finally arrived, and Marcus felt the weight of the day as soon as he woke up. His mom had packed breakfast, insisting he eat something despite his lack of appetite. "You've worked hard for this, Marcus," she said, placing her hand on his shoulder. "Remember, no matter what happens out there, I'm proud of you." Her words steadied him, giving him the confidence he needed. The drive to Cleveland was quiet. Marcus and Coach Bradley sat in the car, the radio playing softly in the background. "You ready for this?" Coach asked, glancing over. Marcus nodded. "I think so." Coach smirked. "Think so? That's not the attitude I want to hear. You've been putting in the work, Marcus. Don't second-guess yourself now." Marcus smiled, feeling a surge of determination. "You're right, Coach. I'm ready." When they arrived at the arena, Marcus was awestruck. The building was massive, with banners of NBA legends hanging outside. He'd seen it on TV before, but standing there in person was surreal. "This is it," Marcus whispered to himself. Inside, the energy was electric. Fans milled about, cameras flashed, and the sound of basketballs bouncing echoed through the hallways. Marcus was led to a locker room where other players many older and taller than him were getting ready. He felt small in comparison, but he refused to let it intimidate him. "Yo, you're that kid from the video, right?" one of the players said, walking over. Marcus nodded. "Yeah, that's me. Respect, man. Can't believe you got Bron to notice you. You must have done something right." Marcus grinned, grateful for the encouragement. Just before the game, Marcus was introduced to LeBron. The moment felt surreal. "Marcus," LeBron said, extending his hand. "It's good to finally meet you." Marcus shook his hand, his nerves threatening to take over. It's an honor, sir." LeBron laughed. "Sir? Come on, now. Just call me Bron." Marcus nodded, his nerves easing slightly. "I saw your video," LeBron continued. "You've got heart. That's what this game is all about. Go out there and have fun, all right? Don't overthink it." Hearing those words from his idol was like a weight lifting off his shoulders. The exhibition game was set to be a mix of fun and competition, with local rising stars playing alongside and against seasoned players. The arena buzzed with excitement as the players were introduced, Marcus getting a particularly loud cheer when his name was announced. His heart raced as he stepped onto the court. The floor felt different, smoother, almost sacred. This was a place where legends played, and now he was part of it, even if just for a night. The first few minutes were overwhelming. The pace of the game was faster than anything Marcus had ever experienced. The players were bigger, stronger, and more skilled than anyone he'd faced before. But he didn't back down. He stuck to what he knew best, speed and precision. On his first possession, he weaved through defenders, drawing cheers from the crowd. His first shot, a three-pointer, bounced off the rim, but LeBron clapped from the sidelines. "Good look, Marcus. Keep shooting." The encouragement fueled him. On the next play, he found an opening and drove to the basket, scoring a layup. The crowd erupted, and Marcus felt a surge of confidence. As the game went on, Marcus began to find his rhythm. He wasn't the biggest or the strongest, but his quickness and determination set him apart. He stole a pass, made a crisp assist, and even hit a three-pointer that sent the crowd into a frenzy. LeBron was watching closely, occasionally nodding or shouting words of encouragement. "You're holding your own out there, kid," one of the players said during a timeout. Marcus smiled, but he knew the real test was yet to come. Late in the game, LeBron himself subbed in. The crowd went wild, and Marcus's heart skipped a beat. "All right, Marcus," LeBron said with a grin. "Let's see what you've got." The next few minutes were a blur. Marcus found himself matched up against his idol, the man whose posters lined his bedroom walls. LeBron didn't take it easy on him, and Marcus didn't expect him to. The first time Marcus tried to drive past him, LeBron blocked his shot with ease. But Marcus didn't let it rattle him. On the next possession, he faked left, then crossed over to the right, catching LeBron off guard. He drove to the basket and scored, the crowd erupting in cheers. LeBron laughed, giving Marcus a playful nod. "Nice move, young blood." The game ended in a blur of high fives and cheers. Marcus had held his own, earning the respect of not just the crowd but the players on the court. In the locker room afterward, LeBron pulled him aside. "You've got a bright future, Marcus," he said. "Keep working hard, and don't let anyone tell you what you can't do." Marcus nodded, his chest swelling with pride. This was more than just a game. It was a moment that would stay with him forever, a reminder that with hard work and determination, even the wildest dreams could come true. The day of the game arrived, and the atmosphere was electric. Marcus stood outside the private gym in Los Angeles, taking in the scene. Photographers lined the entrance, their camera flashes blinding, while reporters shouted questions at anyone who passed by. Inside, Marcus could hear the rhythmic sound of basketballs bouncing against the polished court and the low hum of conversations between players and organizers. But none of it mattered to him. His eyes were locked on the gym doors. Beyond them was the court where his dreams would either take flight or come crashing down. When Marcus walked in, his sneakers squeaking lightly against the hardwood floor, he was struck by the sheer scale of it all. The gym wasn't enormous, but it carried an aura of exclusivity. NBA stars milled about casually, stretching and chatting as if this was just another day for them. For Marcus, it felt like stepping into a different universe. Then he saw him. LeBron James entered the gym, commanding attention without saying a word. He was every bit as imposing in person as he was on television, towering, confident, and utterly at ease. The room seemed to shift around him, players and reporters alike turning their focus to the man they called the king. Marcus felt the weight of every doubt he'd ever carried. "What am I doing here?" he thought, gripping the strap of his gym bag tightly. "These guys are pros. I'm just a kid from Ohio." But then, as if sensing Marcus's unease, LeBron's eyes found him in the crowd. He gave a small nod and a smile, just enough to remind Marcus why he was here. "You've got this," Marcus whispered to himself, steeling his nerves. The warm-up began, and Marcus threw himself into it, dribbling with precision and practicing his shots. The gym buzzed with activity, but he tuned everything out, focusing only on the ball in his hands. "Nice form," a deep voice said behind him. Marcus turned to see LeBron standing there, arms crossed and a grin on his face. "Thanks," Marcus replied, his voice steadier than he expected. "You ready for this?" LeBron asked. "As ready as I'll ever be," Marcus said, meeting his idol's gaze. LeBron chuckled. "That's what I like to hear. Let's see what you've got." The game began, and the tension in the air was palpable. Teams were divided evenly, with LeBron captaining one side and Marcus placed on the opposing team. The players moved with a speed and skill Marcus had never encountered before, but he didn't let it overwhelm him. He played smart, sticking to what he knew best. Within minutes, Marcus made his presence felt. He darted across the court, quick and agile, finding openings others overlooked. His first basket was a clean three-pointer from the corner, and the crowd erupted in cheers. "All right, young blood," LeBron called out, clapping his hands. The encouragement pushed Marcus further. He made a sharp pass that led to an easy layup, stole the ball from a careless dribble, and even drew a foul that sent him to the free throw line. Each moment felt like a small victory, proof that he belonged here. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. LeBron wasn't about to let Marcus have an easy time. Whenever their paths crossed on the court, the NBA star's presence was overwhelming. On one play, Marcus tried to drive to the basket, only to have his shot swatted away with authority. "Not in my house," LeBron said with a playful grin, his voice booming over the crowd's laughter. Marcus grinned back, undeterred. He knew this was part of the game. As the clock ticked down, the intensity ramped up. Both teams were neck and neck, the score tied with only a few minutes left. The crowd leaned forward in their seats, sensing that something special was about to happen. Then it did. Marcus's team gained possession, and the ball found its way into his hands. He dribbled up the court, his eyes scanning the defense. The players parted, almost as if by design, leaving him face to face with LeBron. The crowd fell silent, the air crackling with anticipation. For a moment, Marcus froze. Standing before him was the greatest basketball player of his generation, a man who had dominated the sport for nearly 2 decades. But then, something clicked. This was the moment he had dreamed of, the moment he had practiced for on countless lonely nights in Springfield. Marcus squared up, the ball steady in his hands. LeBron smirked, lowering into a defensive stance. "Let's see what you've got, kid." Marcus started with a quick crossover, shifting the ball from his right hand to his left. LeBron followed, his movements sharp and controlled. Marcus then faked a step back, causing LeBron to momentarily shift his weight. It was all the opening he needed. With a burst of speed, Marcus drove to the right, cutting past LeBron with a precision that stunned the crowd. As he approached the basket, another defender closed in, but Marcus didn't hesitate. He leapt, his body arching gracefully through the air, and released the ball just as the defender's hand swiped past. The ball sailed upward, spinning in slow motion, before kissing the backboard and dropping cleanly through the net. The gym exploded in cheers. Marcus landed on his feet, his chest heaving as he turned back toward LeBron. The NBA star was grinning, his eyes filled with a mixture of surprise and respect. "Not bad," LeBron said, giving Marcus a fist bump. "Not bad at all." The game ended shortly after, with Marcus's team securing a narrow victory. But the score didn't matter. What mattered was the moment, a moment that proved Marcus belonged on the court with the best of them. As the players shook hands, LeBron pulled Marcus aside. "You've got something special, kid," he said. "Keep working, and you're gonna go far. I'll be watching." Marcus nodded, his heart swelling with pride. Later that night, as Marcus sat in the locker room, replaying the game in his mind, he realized something important. This wasn't the end of his journey, it was just the beginning. And for the first time, he truly believed he could make it all the way. As the cheers from Marcus's stunning move subsided, the energy in the gym shifted. It wasn't just another play anymore, it was the moment. Players on both sides exchanged glances, acknowledging that something special had just happened. This wasn't a lucky shot, it was the result of relentless hard work and focus. Marcus felt the adrenaline rushing through him, his heart pounding in his chest. He jogged back to his team's side of the court, the smile on his face impossible to hide. But LeBron wasn't done yet. The game resumed, and LeBron wasted no time showing why he was considered one of the greatest. On the very next possession, he drove to the basket with such power and finesse that even Marcus could only watch in awe as he dunked with authority. The crowd erupted, and LeBron turned to Marcus with a playful smirk. "Your turn," he said, motioning for the ball. The back and forth between Marcus and LeBron quickly became the highlight of the game. Each time Marcus scored or made a smart play, LeBron answered with a move that reminded everyone why he was called the king. But what amazed the crowd and even the other players was how Marcus refused to back down. On one play, LeBron attempted a signature fadeaway jumper. Marcus, reading his body language, timed his leap perfectly and managed to tip the ball just enough to force a miss. Gasps filled the gym, followed by a roar of applause. LeBron landed and looked at Marcus, nodding with approval. "All right, I see you, kid. You're not making this easy." With every play, Marcus felt his confidence grow. This wasn't just about proving himself to others anymore, it was about showing himself that he could rise to the challenge. His teammates rallied around him, feeding off his energy. Marcus dished out a no-look pass for a clean three-pointer, then hustled back on defense, stealing the ball from an opposing player. Each move brought the crowd to its feet, the sound of their cheers echoing in his ears. By the final minutes of the game, the score was tied. Both teams were pushing themselves to the limit, and the tension in the gym was palpable. And then, it happened. LeBron's team gained possession, and the ball was in his hands. The gym seemed to hold its breath as LeBron surveyed the court, his eyes scanning for an opening. He drove to the basket with his usual grace and power, but Marcus stepped in to contest the shot. The moment felt like slow motion. LeBron leapt into the air, his hand extending for a dunk, but Marcus, smaller and less experienced, leapt too. Their bodies collided mid-air, the force of the impact sending them both tumbling to the ground. The ball ricocheted off the rim and bounced out of bounds. The crowd erupted into a mix of cheers and gasps, the play leaving everyone on edge. Marcus pulled himself up, his chest heaving. He looked at LeBron, who was already on his feet, smiling. "You're fearless, kid," LeBron said, offering a hand to help Marcus up. Marcus grinned, shaking his head. "Had to try." LeBron laughed, clapping Marcus on the back. "You've got heart. That's what makes a great player." The final possession of the game belonged to Marcus's team. The coach called a timeout, gathering the players on the sideline. "All right, here's the plan," the coach said, drawing up a play on the clipboard. "Marcus, we're counting on you. Take the last shot." Marcus felt the weight of the moment settle on his shoulders. This was it, the chance to seal the game. As the players returned to the court, the crowd began to chant his name. "Marcus! Marcus!" The play unfolded perfectly. Marcus received the inbound pass and immediately felt the pressure of the defense closing in. He dribbled to his right, then crossed over to his left, creating just enough space to take the shot. The gym fell silent as the ball left his hands, spinning through the air. It felt like an eternity before it reached the hoop, the sound of the net swishing perfectly breaking the silence. The crowd erupted, the gym shaking with the force of their cheers. Marcus's teammates mobbed him, their shouts of excitement ringing in his ears. He'd done it. He'd not only played alongside his idol but had also helped his team secure a victory. LeBron approached him as the celebration subsided, extending his hand. "That was a clutch shot, Marcus. You've got ice in your veins." Marcus shook his hand, his voice steady despite the overwhelming emotions. "Thank you. For everything." LeBron smiled. "This is just the beginning for you, kid. Keep working hard, and you'll go places. I'll be watching." The post-game interviews were a blur. Reporters swarmed Marcus, their questions blending together in a haze of flashing cameras and bright lights. "How does it feel to play against LeBron? What's next for you? Did you ever think you'd make it this far?" Through it all, Marcus remained humble, thanking his family, his coach, and his teammates for their support. "This was a dream come true," he said, his voice steady despite the excitement. "But I know I've still got a lot of work to do." As the gym emptied and the players began to leave, Marcus took a moment to stand on the court, looking around. The echoes of the game still lingered in the air, and he couldn't help but smile. This was the moment he'd dreamed of for so long, and he'd risen to the occasion. But more importantly, he'd learned that dreams were just the beginning. It was what came after the hard work, the determination, the resilience that truly mattered. And with that thought, Marcus walked off the court, ready for whatever came next. When the final buzzer sounded, the gym erupted into applause. Players congratulated each other, patting backs and exchanging fist bumps, but Marcus stood still for a moment, letting it all sink in. The weight of what he'd just accomplished began to settle over him. LeBron James walked across the court, towering over Marcus yet wearing an expression of pure respect. He extended his hand, and Marcus, still catching his breath, reached out to shake it. "Kid," LeBron said with a grin, "you've got something special. Keep that fire burning." The words hit Marcus like a lightning bolt. This was more than a compliment, it was validation. It was everything he'd worked for, every late-night drill, every moment of self-doubt, wrapped into a single, unforgettable moment. The crowd began to file out, buzzing with excitement. Phones were out, videos already being uploaded, captions screaming about the young phenom who had gone toe-to-toe with the king. Marcus was surrounded by his teammates, reporters, and even a few NBA scouts who had attended the game out of curiosity. "Marcus, how does it feel to play against LeBron James?" one reporter asked, holding a microphone inches from his face. "It's surreal," Marcus said, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. "LeBron's been my hero since I was a kid. To share the court with him, it's a dream come true. But more than that, it's proof that hard work pays off." Within hours, clips of the game began to flood the internet. A video of Marcus driving past LeBron for that stunning layup gained millions of views in a matter of days. Fans everywhere shared their admiration for the fearless teenager who had dared to challenge one of the greatest players in basketball history. Social media exploded with comments. "Who is this kid? He's insane. Marcus Carter just became a legend. LeBron better watch out, Marcus is coming for his crown." But for Marcus, the sudden fame wasn't the goal. He wasn't playing for the cameras or the headlines. This was about proving to himself and to anyone who doubted him that no dream was too big. Back in Springfield, Ohio, the reaction was just as overwhelming. The local gym where Marcus had spent countless hours practicing became a mini tourist attraction. Kids from all over the neighborhood gathered there, inspired by his story. "You see that hoop?" one boy said, pointing at the rusted rim Marcus had used to film his viral dunk. "That's where it all started." Marcus's coach, Mr. Daniels, couldn't hide his pride. "I always knew he had the talent," he said to a reporter. "But what sets Marcus apart is his determination. That kid never gives up." Even Marcus's classmates, the ones who used to tease him for being too short, began to see him in a new light. Some tried to apologize, awkwardly congratulating him in the school hallways. Marcus accepted their words with grace, knowing that his success had silenced their doubts louder than any argument ever could. LeBron, true to his word, continued to keep an eye on Marcus. In interviews, he praised the young player's skills and determination. "That kid's got heart," LeBron said during a press conference. "I see a little of myself in him, his hunger, his drive. If he keeps working, the sky's the limit." Marcus even received an unexpected gift a few weeks later, a signed jersey from LeBron, along with a handwritten note. "Marcus, keep chasing greatness. Proud of you. LeBron." The jersey and note became prized possessions for Marcus, a constant reminder of what he had achieved and the journey still ahead. But Marcus didn't let the newfound attention distract him. He returned to his routine with even greater focus. Early mornings at the gym, late-night drills, and hours studying game footage. He knew that the journey to the top was just beginning. With the encouragement of his family and coach, Marcus began preparing for the next step: high school championships, college recruitment, and eventually, the NBA draft. Opportunities started to pour in. Colleges from across the country sent scouts to watch him play, and offers of scholarships began to arrive. But Marcus remained grounded, focusing on improving his skills and staying true to himself. One of the most emotional moments came when Marcus was invited to speak at his school's assembly. Standing on the stage in front of his peers, teachers, and community members, he took a deep breath and began. "Everyone told me I couldn't do it," he said. "They said I was too short, too young, just a kid with a crazy dream. But the truth is, the only limits are the ones you put on yourself. If you work hard, if you believe in yourself, anything is possible." The gym erupted in applause, many in the audience wiping away tears. Marcus's words struck a chord, not just with the students but with everyone who had ever doubted their own potential. As the months passed, Marcus's story continued to inspire. He became a symbol of resilience and determination, proof that dreams are worth chasing no matter how impossible they seem. Local businesses put up posters of Marcus, and Springfield held a parade in his honor. During the event, Marcus rode through the streets on a float, waving to the crowd and holding up his basketball. "Thank you for believing in me," he said into the microphone, addressing the cheering crowd. "This is just the beginning." For Marcus, the game against LeBron was a turning point, a moment that redefined not just his life but the way he saw himself. It wasn't about fame or recognition, it was about proving that hard work and belief could make the impossible possible. As he stood in his small backyard one evening, shooting hoops under the dim light of the street lamp, Marcus couldn't help but smile. He thought back to all the nights he had spent out here, dreaming of something bigger. And now, he knew, dreams weren't just meant to be dreamed. They were meant to be chased. The game against LeBron was more than just a basketball match. It was a turning point, not just for Marcus, but for everyone who had ever been told that their dreams were too big, too impossible, or too unrealistic. Marcus Carter's story became a beacon of hope, shining brightly for anyone who had ever dared to dream of something beyond their reach. But what made his journey truly inspiring wasn't just his success, it was what he overcame to get there. We often think that the greatest challenges are the ones we face in the heat of competition, the ones that show up on the court or the field. But the truth is, the hardest battles happen inside our minds. The moments when we question ourselves, when doubt creeps in, and when it feels like no one believes in us. Marcus had his share of those moments. There were times when the insults about his height stung, times when his classmates laughed at his big dreams, times when his coach told him to focus on his schoolwork rather than pipe dreams of playing in the NBA. Every time someone told him he couldn't do it, every time someone doubted him, it felt like a weight was added to his shoulders. But Marcus carried it all without complaining, letting the doubts fuel him rather than defeat him. And that, more than anything, is what made Marcus's journey different. He didn't just face LeBron on the court, he faced his own insecurities, his own fears, and his own self-doubt. And with every step, he refused to let those things win. It wasn't an easy path. There were days when Marcus felt like giving up, days when the shots wouldn't fall, days when the exhaustion made him question if it was worth it. But he kept pushing. There was something inside him, a fire, a belief that told him to keep going. Even when the odds seemed stacked against him, even when the world seemed to say, "This is too big for you," Marcus believed that one day, he would be able to prove them wrong. And he did. The moment Marcus received that message from LeBron himself, it wasn't just a victory for Marcus, it was a victory for everyone who had ever been told they weren't enough. For the kid who was too short, for the dreamer who was too young, for the quiet ones who were too overlooked. That message, "Hey Marcus, it's Bron. Let's play," wasn't just an invitation to a game. It was a message that reminded Marcus and the world that no dream is too big if you have the courage to chase it. LeBron, a legend in his own right, saw something in Marcus that others had failed to see. And in doing so, he gave Marcus the most powerful gift of all, belief. When someone like LeBron believes in you, it validates everything you've worked for, everything you've sacrificed. But more importantly, it proves that if you believe in yourself first, the world has no choice but to believe in you too. The game itself was a test of Marcus's skill, but it was also a test of his character. The way he handled the pressure, the way he stayed calm even when the stakes were at their highest, showed everyone what he was made of. When he faced LeBron one-on-one, it wasn't just a basketball challenge, it was a moment that defined who Marcus was as a person. He could have been intimidated. He could have backed down. But he didn't. Instead, he stood tall, faced his fears, and rose to the occasion. And in that final moment, when Marcus sank the game-winning shot, it wasn't just the culmination of a dream, it was the triumph of perseverance, of belief in oneself, and of never giving up. He had proven to himself that no matter how big the challenge, no matter how impossible it seemed, he had what it took to overcome it. But even after the game, Marcus didn't rest on his laurels. He didn't let the fame, the headlines, or the accolades distract him from what truly mattered, the work. The journey didn't end with that game. Marcus knew that to get to the next level, to continue chasing his dreams, he had to keep pushing himself, keep improving, and keep believing. And that's the message that Marcus's story leaves us with. Success isn't about the destination, it's about the journey. It's about the late nights, the sacrifices, the moments when no one is watching, and you're left questioning if it's worth it. It's about continuing to push forward, even when it seems like no one else believes in you. Because if you believe in yourself, if you keep showing up day after day, the world will eventually take notice. So, what can we learn from Marcus's story? It's simple, no dream is too big if you're willing to fight for it. Every success story is built on a foundation of setbacks, challenges, and moments of doubt. But those who succeed are the ones who don't let those things define them. Instead, they use them to fuel their drive, to push them further than they ever thought possible. In life, we all face obstacles. We all have moments when we feel small, when the world seems to say we're not enough. But Marcus showed us that those moments don't have to define us. It's what we do in those moments that truly matters. When doubt creeps in, when fear tries to stop you, remember Marcus Carter. Remember that the biggest battles are fought in your mind, and the greatest victories are won when you refuse to let those doubts win. Sometimes, the greatest battles aren't fought on the court or in the spotlight. Sometimes, the hardest battles are the ones fought in silence, in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when you're alone with your thoughts, wondering if you're good enough, if it's worth the effort. Those are the moments that truly define who we are. Marcus didn't just defeat LeBron that day. He defeated the fear and doubt that held him back for so long. And in doing so, he proved that no matter where you come from, no matter who doubts you, you have the power to make your dreams come true. Because when you believe in yourself, the world has no choice but to believe in you too. With this final message, the story of Marcus Carter becomes more than just a tale of one boy's dream. It becomes a universal reminder that our potential is limitless when we dare to believe in it, when we refuse to give up, and when we show up every day to chase our dreams, no matter how impossible they may seem. The world is full of challenges, but it's also full of opportunities if you have the courage to go after them. Marcus Carter's story is just the beginning, and for anyone who has ever wondered if they could make their dreams a reality, his journey is proof that anything is possible if you believe enough to make it happen.